November is shaping up to be a real tough month for history buffs. On the film side of things, you have Gladiator 2 dropping in November, and oh boy, if you think the total desecration of the Roman Empire isn't enough, you can go ahead and cast your gaze over to Japan, pun somewhat intended, and take a look at what Ubisoft has on the cards for Assassin's Creed Shadows. But this release is ultimately not going down without a fight, as long as the Japanese players have something to say about this, because the petition against Ubisoft to cancel Assassin's Creed Shadows accuses the game of being a serious insult to Japanese culture and history. Wow, so companies like Ubisoft that would normally be weaponizing cultural appropriation, or at least the staffers that are down there, are now being accused of the same thing that they would levy at everybody else? Very interesting, man. This Assassin's Creed Shadows debacle has been one of my personal favorite stories of the year. To the surprise of no one with a grain of sense, Japanese players are not happy with Ubisoft's decision to use Assassin's Creed first official foray into the island nation as the platform for more diversity activism. Well, yeah, of course, because you have a long desired location for the Assassin's Creed franchise, and what do you end up doing? Telling a cool story about an actual assassin, an actual ninja. You got some tiny chick and a black guy. Like, what the hell are you doing, man? Okay, taking place in the Sengoku era of feudal Japan's history, and the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows will tell its story through the eyes of two distinct protagonists, Naoi, a completely fictional female ninja, and Yasuke, a highly romanticized version of the real-world black African man who briefly served as a retainer for famous Japanese warlord Oda Nobunaga. Right. Yeah, but Yasuke was a samurai, according to this one historian. Oh, yeah, right. And the only time that he was in combat, he immediately surrendered. So, yeah, the great person to try to do some historical rehab on, I'm sure. Notably, the decision to feature Yasuke as one of the game's protagonists marks the first time in the entirety of the Assassin's Creed franchise that a real-world historical figure, albeit a highly fictionalized version of them, will be made available as a playable character. Yeah, because even, Altair, Ezio, they interacted with actual historical people, but they themselves were never direct references of said characters. Can't speak so much to, the protagonists from Unity or Syndicate, Origins, Viking 1, Valhalla, is that the one that one was called? And then Origins. Can't speak to any of those, but the ones that I did play. Oh, and I forget what the guy from Assassin's Creed 3 was, the native cat. The game was fine. I played through it. I just don't remember any of it. To this end, believing that Shadow's portraying of Yasuke as a full-blown samurai rather than a simple retainer was both culturally insulting and outright attempt at historical revisionism. And one unhappy Japanese player took to change.org on June 19th to launch a petition demanding that Ubisoft not just take the game back to the drawing board, but wholesale cancel their plans for its development. Yo, that's kind of crazy, actually. Recently, a serious issue of historical accuracy and lack of cultural respect has been raised about the game's developer, Ubisoft's upcoming release, Assassin's Creed Shadows, explained the petition creator Shimizu Toru. Okay, for its purpose, a machine translated. Okay, now the game is based on the subject of Japanese samurai and ignores the fact that the samurai are a higher class of samurai, and then it should be gokemono, okay, or servants of nobility. In fact, the first European to receive the title of samurai, William Adams Miura Hanabori, okay, was a bannerman with 250 koku, an ancient Japanese unit of measurement. 1 koku equals 180 liters or 48 gallons, okay, used to colloquially to refer to how much rice one's land holding could produce. Okay, he served Tokugawa Ieyasu. Throughout this history, Ubisoft continues to misunderstand the nature and role of the samurai. Toru continued, and a serious insult to Japanese culture and the history, and could lead to Asian racism. Oh, I love it. Just go ahead. Even if you don't believe this, just spin these arguments that these progressive types would use against you and just throw them back in their face. I love it. We demand that Ubisoft immediately stop the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows and show a serious investigation and respect for Japanese history and culture. Your signature is needed. He ultimately concludes, sign the petition to let Ubisoft know the importance of cultural respect and historical accuracy. Yeah, as of writing, the petition has garnered at least 21,000 signatures with a goal of 25,000. I mean, do they have a link to it? At the time of my recording, Yeah, they're 1,000. They're just 1,000 shy of the 35,000 revised goal right there. None too shabby, I would say, and that right there, I believe, would be a little bit more of an accurate assessment of the voice of the Japanese consumer, as opposed to what a bunch of French-Canadian poutine huffers have to say about this. But speaking of which, we got the Ubisoft CEO now trying to play victim. And I seen this headline, and it's like, wow, good thing you guys haven't made an RPG in a long time, because apparently you haven't been able to cultivate any points in self-awareness. At least you have some plausible deniability. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot says he's dismayed about the malicious... I'm sorry, need to get into character for this one. Okay. Malicious and personal online attacks directed at team members. Company's community manager appears to have animus against white men. Wow, color me surprised. Another community manager? That is an out-and-out racist. Big shock. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot stated that he's dismayed by alleged malicious and personal online attacks. Could you provide receipts for any of them? Please, just one source. That's all we're asking, Eve. Come on. That have been directed at Ubisoft team members and partners. In an interview with Lucy O'Brien, Ubisoft's director of editorial communications, that was published to Ubisoft's website, Yves Guillemot, was asked, I'd like to end with a two-part question. First part, what dismays you about the games industry right now? Well, we haven't put out anything that has really resonated with the audience. Oh, I'm sorry. He responded, one thing I am concerned about right now is the malicious and personal online attacks that have been directed at some of our team members and partners. I want to make it clear that we at Ubisoft condemn these hateful attacks in the strongest possible terms, and I encourage the rest of the industry and players to denounce them too. Yeah, sure. Just show them. Show them. Prove that you aren't making any of this stuff up for virtue signaling points. Prove that you are not using this as an ability to go ahead and deflect from any of the legit criticism of your cultural appropriation, of you making another lame-ass Star Wars game that just looks like a reskin of an outdated Far Cry game where you stick a chick in it and you literally make it lame. I am proud to support the amazing work of our teams and partners, and I will always trust in their creative choices. We should all celebrate the hard work and talent that goes into making video games. Well, yeah, normally I would, but here's the thing, man. Just because you worked hard on something doesn't make it good. And a Ubisoft game that I would consider good, it's been a long time, man. It's been a real long time. I know you've had successes with Rainbow Six Siege, but as a company, a game that's resonated with me that you guys have put out, it's probably been a long time. I did enjoy Far Cry 4, but it was basically a higher budget Far Cry 3. There's not much to it. Like I said, the last Assassin's Creed game that I played to completion, I started Black Flag. It wasn't for me. 3 was forgettable. I like the Ezio stuff. The trilogy of games that he had right there, that was pretty decent. So yeah, go back to that. Those were fine. I like the Splinter Cell games, but you haven't put a good one of those out in, oh lord, console generations at this point. To the PS2 with Pandora, Tomorrow, Chaos Theory, and the original. Like, it's been a minute since you guys have done something universally appreciated. It's unclear exactly what Guillemot is talking about, given that he does not share any evidence or discuss what these malicious and personal attacks are. Color me surprised. However, 2 major upcoming games that Ubisoft is about to release Star Wars Outlaws, which, yeah, there's a bunch of problems with that one, especially when it comes to the over-monetization policies that Ubisoft is trying to put in place. Oh, yeah, and other people that work under said umbrella are out there telling gamers that they need to get comfortable with not owning their games, simply signing up for all of these stupid streaming and subscription services. Yeah, that might poke and rub people the wrong way. And then Assassin's Creed Shadows, yeah, that's just an entire can of worms in and of itself, have been massively ridiculed by gamers for injecting of wokeness and character choice and design, as well as the narratives both games plan to tell. Yeah, exactly, because you got female Han Solo who wants to be Han Solo so bad, and it's so patently obvious that's exactly what they're doing. That when the game ultimately does release, I think in August or something like that, the few that are unfortunate enough to play this stuff that weren't given adequate heads up are also going to come to those conclusions, because that's Star Wars, and then that's also Ubisoft. So yeah, humans are creatures of pattern recognition. You've been burnt enough by Star Wars. You've been burnt enough by Ubisoft. So when both of those IPs come together, you should be able to see what's coming on the horizon. Otherwise, you get what you deserve. Of note, Guillemot and Ubisoft do employ community manager Shauna Jones, who appears to have animus against white men based on numerous posts to social media that she has made. Well, of course, and here's the icing on the cake, right? As shared via screenshots to X by user Kooks12, Jones posted back in January of 2020, if you're a white dude complaining that diversity being raised is an issue, then people are going to keep raising the lack of diversity until we see a change. That S has got to change, man. Right, because you need to see yourself represented in order to resonate with the game. But if you have the other side of that equation, the one that you want to deride, and they want to theoretically, even though I've never seen the other side of this argument, okay, say they need to see themselves represented, they're the bigots. It's that old saying that if you just go ahead and reverse one of the words in the statement and it automatically has a different connotation in your head, then the statement itself is already layered with issues. Yeah, go ahead and run through that thought process and engage those mental muscles, because clearly they are severely atrophied. In another post from September of 2020, she wrote, love that if you say you're trying to be more body positive, white men assume that you're saying you're fat and tell you to go to the gym. Okay, I'm a size 12. Well, you're fat. Being body positive has nothing to do with weight. But that's what's this whole white men thing, okay? One of the biggest fat shamers I've ever seen on the internet is Myron Gaines, okay? So let's just cut the shit here, fat ass. She also wrote in July of 2020, please don't tell me a gender isn't an issue in the games industry when you are a white male. Okay, no, she's just a hateful person, and she's employed by Ubisoft, and you'll wonder why people in this day and age in 2024 don't want to give you the benefit of the doubt. Yves, like what you were saying, okay, malicious and personal online attacks, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to go ahead and clean up your own house before you start telling the rest of the world that they need to grow up and condemn theoretical actions when you have practical and appreciable statements right there for the world to see. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.